that helps. Hello, 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 and welcome to Patriot Kitchen. I'm just gonna keep it. All right, I'm your host, Kristen, and I was on YouTube looking for something completely, I don't even think it was food related, and I stumbled on this video, and this YouTuber swears by it. He says that he and his wife, because I looked at another recipe in the future, and then he bragged about this one again later. I want to say his name is AI Kitchens. Check him out. This is the recipe. It's from Little Sunny Kitchen, and this is called Marry Me Chicken, okay? I will post the report. I will post this recipe on the video right now. Okay, now, and here's the directions on the back as to how to do this. All right, so the first thing it calls for is 3 large chicken breasts. The reason why I didn't cut these up beforehand is because I'm going to show you how to butterfly a chicken breast if you don't know how to do that, and how to get that ligament out of it, like all this gross stuff in here. So I'm going to show you how to do all that. So I'm going to go by the recipe verbatim with one exception. It calls for chicken broth. We're using chicken stock. You know how I feel about chicken broth. Chicken stock will improve the taste of this recipe. Trust me. All right. So I have, instead of 3 large chicken breasts, I have 4 super huge chicken breasts, almost the size of turkey breasts. So along with keeping the recipe verbatim, we are also going to double what this calls. So it's calling for 3 large chicken breasts. I have 4 super huge ones. It's calling for a half a teaspoon of salt. I did 1 full teaspoon, a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. I did a half a teaspoon, right? Okay. So we're gonna double the recipe. Oh, I forgot. So it calls for 3 cloves of garlic. We're gonna do 6. Okay, so that this way here, it can cover all the chicken nicely. And furthermore, instead of just making this for the chicken, because you don't need a macaroni or rice or whatever it is that you like to maybe make this meal go farther, but I'm gonna put this over egg noodles. All right, so you do want that extra sauce to kind of add some flavor to the noodles as well. So that's why I'm doubling the amount of sauce that I'm gonna make. All right. So let's start with this, okay? So the first thing you're gonna do, why do I feel like I have a hair in my hand? I think it's my imagination. I just washed my hands, you can see. All right, so the first thing you're gonna do, I'll start with a small one, is, I didn't touch anything with this hand yet. You have to be very conscious with when dealing with chicken. All right, so let's start with the chicken. It's calling for 3. We're gonna make, instead of 6 half chickens, if you will, there's gonna be 8. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and cut this fat off first. All right, and before we go into butchering this up, we're just gonna press it here so it's nice, evenly and flat. Hold on. I'm gonna keep one hand clean for this reason. You're gonna keep this flat here, okay? Let's put these guys out of the way. All right. Keep this flat, and you're just gonna cut right through the middle, straight ahead. And it helps if you have a well-sharpened knife. And there you have it. So you can see here, the ligament's not too bad, so we can leave this alone. Let's see, on this side, you can kind of see where all this stuff is happening. So what I do is, if you watch real closely, I'll straighten it out like this. And then this way here, you're not wasting a lot of meat. Now, some people do that fork trick. You really don't need to, because back down here, it's not too bad. I mean, you can kind of look here a little bit, you just kind of cut it along the way, because if you do that fork thing, you're going to shred the entire breast. Now, if you're going to make something like chicken and dumplings where you don't need these perfectly filleted or cubed chickens, you could then use that trick. But reality of it, you just cut a couple pieces here and there you have it. All right, so again, we're gonna cut this piece off. You don't really need that. And it's actually, ooh, this is a bad one. All right, we could leave this here. A little bit of fat doesn't hurt. All right, keep it nice and flat. Aim for the middle, straight back. And if this is still too thick, the recipe says make it a, what is it? A quarter to a half an inch thick. But if you look on the recipe itself, and the YouTuber said this himself, that, you know, his chicken's thicker. He doesn't see how he can make it any thinner unless you pound it out. You don't have to pound it out. Just cook it 4 minutes on each side, you'll be fine. All right, this side's nice. All right, this, all right, again, we're just gonna cut right along the line here. I think it's a little bit on an angle, so we'll go ahead and cut this way. All right. Oh, I got this hand dirty. All right, so we'll just cut that end off right there. This piece is fine. But this one, let's see, should be able to just pull it off. Yeah, hold on. I'm gonna see if I can show you guys how to do this. You just get right behind it. And the whole thing should come off nice and easy. Well, here's the hard part right here. Got that one, but I want to get the whole thing. It's very slippery. There you go. And then, if you don't want to waste the meat, oh my Lord. Well, all right, cut my losses here. Just get that last tip there, bada bing. All right, so it's nice and clean. All right, so from this point here, we're gonna take this, pop that in the garbage. And even though it only calls for a half a teaspoon, well, yes, a half a teaspoon and a quarter teaspoon of pepper to put in the flour, I'm gonna put a little bit of salt and pepper on the chicken itself. It's just good for the meat. It allows the meat to contribute a little bit more flavor to your dish. Just a sprinkle each. You do the same thing with steak. I think it's a good practice. Salt's especially salt, it's very good for meat, and it also works as like a natural preservative too. So you just get that on there. Plus it helps to cook while the meat is room temperature. This meat is indeed room temperature. So we'll go ahead. I'm just gonna lay all these out evenly. And I'll just leave this one on the plate, that's fine. All right. And I'm gonna show you how to salt them. Be like, what? Why? I'll show you. There's a little bit of a science with salting your meat, all right? You don't wanna do it directly over. I actually learned a little something from another chef that I saw online. It was like 75 hacks. Just a guy who used to work in a restaurant, so he tells you like all these cool things. So this is what you're gonna do. You take the salt and go like this, and it spreads evenly. Let's see if I can show you. You kind of see how it goes over evenly. There you go. And even if a little bit, I mean, they say with granulated salt, I'm using flake salt, so this will be fine. All right, we'll go ahead and flip it. Well, let's do some pepper, just a sprinkle. The pepper gives a lot of nice flavor to it. I just washed my hands, so why don't we go ahead and use tongs to flip them. Ooh, I forgot all about you, little buddy. There we go. This one piece is fine to sprinkle right over top. Go ahead and, I mean, technically you should salt it first, but oh well. All right. Go ahead and flip each and every one of them. Each one. So we got the chicken down, right? We got the chicken prep down. This takes, in total, minus the teaching, maybe like 5 minutes, 5-10 minutes. Especially for 6 pieces total. Like this is a lot total. So yeah, you probably got about 5 minutes worth of prepping just the chicken. Everything else kind of falls into place after that. Okay. So we'll just do some salt for the other side. So this side doesn't get too jealous. All right. Like, oh wow, that's a lot of salt. It actually, half of it's going off of it. I'm gonna have to do a lot of cleaning after, which is fine. It's just salt, you know. It's not like I'm putting sugar everywhere. A little bit of pepper. All right, so the chicken's done. We're gonna do 6 cloves of garlic instead of 3. I'm just gonna keep reminding you that this is a double recipe. It's the same recipe, I'm just doubling it because look at all this chicken. So I'm just gonna pop that there. I'm gonna go ahead and give this a good washing. I'll be right back. All right, all clean. Now, we're gonna set the chicken over here. Get ready to cook, right? Now we can maximize our workable space here. So instead of 1 cup of broth, we did 2. The equivalent to 2, if you don't want to measure it out, is half of this. All right, it's just a half a bottle of this. This is a quart. All right. 2 cups of heavy cream. It's one of these. It's a pint, which is 2 cups equals a pint. So bada bing, that's out of the way. Let me just double check again how much sun-dried, I almost said fried green tomatoes. Sun-dried tomatoes, it is where am I? Sun-dried tomatoes. Oh, here we go. A 1/3 cup. So this is going to be 2/3 cups of sun-dried tomatoes. Oh, I almost forgot a 1/4 teaspoon of oregano, a 1/4 teaspoon of thyme, and a tablespoon of fresh basil. I'm going to show you how to cut that if it's not shredded already. So let's see, thyme. Oregano. Oh, nope, that's onion. You know, I had oregano and I've been staring at it for how long, and now I can't find it. Not fail. Oh, here we go, oregano. Now, this recipe calls for, it just says oregano and thyme. Some people did fresh, some people did dry. Most people didn't tell the difference. They said it was just as good either way. So I have dried. There was one where some people did rosemary. You don't really need it. Oh, chili flakes. And the perfect replacement if you don't have chili flakes is red pepper flakes. I didn't know that there was a difference until the guy who did this video told me there was a difference. So apparently red pepper flakes is not as hot as chili flakes, but the chili has a little bit of a smoky taste to it. So I don't have chili flakes. Now that I heard that there is a difference, now I want them. But I gotta find my red pepper flakes, and I know I have them. I'm gonna be really mad if I can't find them. Oh, here we go. I'm so lazy. All right. And you don't have, like, if your kids are very sensitive to heat of any kind, you can omit this. I've seen people, because I was so intrigued by this recipe that I want to do this, and I want to show live whether or not I have salt. Oh God, I'm gonna have to vacuum. I have salt in my hand for no reason. I've been dying to try this for a long time. So why don't we go ahead and put all of this. Okay, so this is the double portion of the quarter teaspoon of pepper, and double of the half teaspoon of salt. We'll go ahead and put that right in the flour. All right, we'll mix that up so that when we lightly cover the chicken with it, there's a little bit of flavor in the flour. Hence why we also put some salt and pepper on the chicken, because I don't think we're going to use all of that. The original recipe calls for 6 tablespoons of flour, or 50 grams, whatever you use. But because we're doubling the procedure, we're doubling the recipe, I can't think, we're doing 12, okay? So why don't we go ahead and get these set up. Let's see. 1 full teaspoon of chili flakes. We are doubling the recipe, but I'm gonna do, instead of 1, or I'll just keep this at 1. All right, just for the sake of not making it too hot. I like it spicy, but I'm gonna bring this in for a couple of coworkers as well. So this may be a little bit on the hot side. And I know one of my coworkers hates spice of any kind, so I'll be gentle with this. But as for thyme and oregano, we'll go ahead and double it. So let's see, 1/4 teaspoon of thyme. So we're gonna go ahead and do a half teaspoon. Level that out nicely. All right. Didn't spill any thyme on my hands, which thyme on my hands I like. 1/4 teaspoon of oregano. We'll go ahead and do a half a teaspoon of oregano. And we'll save that for when we get the sauce going. All right. So you got the half teaspoon, 1/4 teaspoon, bada bing, bada boom. All right. Calls for 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter, which, by the way, I got some unsalted butter because I want to do this exactly how it says. I don't think there's going to be that much of a difference, but let's just see. I've never really cooked with unsalted butter except for baking. So I'm going to see. So instead of 2, I did 4. So it's 2 each. The original recipe is 2 tablespoons of olive oil, 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter. I did 4 each. So we'll go ahead and put that by the frying pan, get that out of the way. Why don't we go ahead and get these cut up? We'll put this over here to the side. We'll keep these 2 right where they are. That's fine. And we'll do 6 cloves of garlic instead of 3 because, again, we're doubling the dose here. All right, 1, 2, 3. That's a really small one. 4, 5, 6. And I'll do another one to just make these equal ones. They're tiny, okay? All right, I know. I love my garlic, but again, I'm going to obey this recipe. Through the duration of this video, you will be hearing fried green tomatoes a lot. Just bear with me. Okay. So why don't we go ahead. Oh, so many of you guys probably don't know this, but although I don't ask for any kind of donations or whatever, don't worry, this is a testimony, not a cry for help. I am living paycheck to paycheck currently. It's really stressful. So I'm sitting there talking to God. I'm like, is this my life? Is this, since high school, everything's been paycheck to paycheck. After college, I thought everything would get better. Still paycheck to paycheck. Now, granted, I was an idiot when I was younger. I had no financial skills whatsoever, and I'm still paying for it. So that, I deserve it. But, I'm just telling God like it is. I'm just being honest with him, not telling him like it is. I'm not telling him anything. I'm just saying, like, this is what I'm going through, Lord. I don't know what to do. I know I screwed up, but when is this going to end? So I go to get my oil change. I hope Dad doesn't hear this video. I was about 6,000 over, okay? Because every time I turned around, there was some kind of financial catastrophe. I couldn't even afford to get my oil changed. And here in the state of New Jersey, it's synthetic, and you can't, once you go synthetic, you cannot go regular. So I had synthetic oil, and between that, tire rotation, which you have to do, especially with the distance that I drive every day, and, you know, oil filter 40, what is it, the inspection that they do, comes out to 110 bucks. You know, that's my electric, well, it's actually less than my electric bill, but now I have a water bill, all this stuff. So I finally go, I get my car in. I was like, my poor car really deserves this. I was there for, because I was supposed to be here a long time ago, almost 4 hours. I got there at 1 o'clock. I got out at 4:45, okay? I was beside myself how long I was waiting. And I got the express package where, you know, it's supposed to be faster. And I was there for 4 hours. So the manager was the one who was taking care of me. I did not ask for the manager. She just happened to be the one. I didn't know she was a manager, to be honest. I thought she was just one of the advisors. I said, man, you know, I got the espresso. The express thing, I was like, if I knew it was going to be this long, I wouldn't trouble you guys to, you know, do my car today. I could have come tomorrow, but, you know I had to be done. But I was like, this is the longest express service I've ever gotten in my life. Pep Boys isn't even this. She goes, don't worry, it's on the house. So I'm thinking, okay, so I guess there's an additional charge for getting something done express. That's what I'm thinking. So I sat there and I wait. Another hour and a half goes by and I'm like, okay, something's not right here. And I get, okay, they wash the car when it's done, this, that, and the third. All right, whatever. But I'm like, you know, this is getting ridiculous. So I have my Instacart order here. And she's like, I'm at your door. Where do I put this? She's like, where can I safely put your groceries? And I was like, you know, I started getting mad. I was this close to blowing up and I'm so thankful I didn't. I'm not the kind of person that loses it because I gotta be somewhere. I'm not like that. But they knew I was there for 4 hours. You know what I mean? And I was like, oh, you know, I had it all planned out. So anyways, long story short, we'll just cut to the chase. My mechanic comes up, he goes, oh, you're all taken care of? Car is washed? I'm like, oh, thank God. I was like, let's get this done. So I take my card out, get ready to pay. He goes, oh no, ma'am, don't worry, you're already taken care of. I was like, is my card in the system? I was like, I actually got it. He goes, no. He goes, you're not paying for this oil change. We feel terrible about this. And, you know, it's not right that you waited here. I was like, oh. I was like, I didn't expect that. And the manager was like, I told you it was on the house. I'm like, I thought it was like an express thing. Like, I thought maybe you were charging me for express and then took that off the bill. I was like, I didn't know you actually, like, took the whole thing. I was like, oh my God, you guys are a blessing. Thank you so much. I was like, I'm so mad. I'm so sorry. I was about to get mad. They start laughing and, you know, we're like, ha, 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 ha. All right, happy ending. But God has a way of making things work out, and He will do things that will cover your needs. I needed that oil change. I was about to go out in my backyard and do it, not my backyard, my front driveway, whatever. I was about to do it myself. You know, I was going to see if somebody had a lift and just get under my car and do it. But I didn't have to. Somebody else did it, and it was for free. Synthetic oil change, tire rotation, 42-point inspection, whatever it was, car wash, free. Like, how do you respond to that? Like, usually it's something bad that happens that I don't, oh, okay, never mind. Okay, it's already shredded. So a little trick with basil is, you know, some people just like chop it up. You just take the leaves, stack them on top of each other. You roll it and you want those like long, I forget that French word. You just cut really thin lines with it. We don't have to worry about that. We can actually get going. What does it call for? 1 tablespoon. So we're gonna do 2. All right, so 1 tablespoon. Ooh, this is fresh. There you have it. All right, that's all the ingredients, and it smells so good. Oh, this is something I will tell you. With a recipe like this, you want to use real Parmesan. You don't want to use the shredded. You don't want to use the grated cheese especially. You want to use real wedge of Parmesan cheese. Here's why. Somebody on YouTube said there's wood in shredded Parmesan. Although that may be true, that's not why I'm telling you to do this, but they put cornstarch in it. Cornstarch in the shredded cheese, not the wedge. And what cornstarch does to this is it makes it clumpy. You don't want this recipe to be clumpy. You want the gravy to be nice and smooth. All right, so that's what we're gonna do. So initially, it calls for a half a cup. We're gonna do a full cup. And I wanna say it's probably the whole thing. So at least that won't go to waste. Oh, here we go. All right, so, oh, I found it. There's my 2 tablespoon measuring cup. All right. So, what I'm gonna do here is, I'll put this over a plate so it doesn't go all over the place. And because this is just cheese, I can use this for dinner. All right, so why don't we go ahead and get this open. Now this could be, like grating cheese to me is like the worst job in the world. I hate it, but I guess I could do some story time. So that happened today. There's a co-worker of mine, she's from Iran. And I don't know if I ever mentioned it to you guys, but I'm about 20% Persian. So she's shadowing me at my job to learn the ways of what I do. Now she has the same license as I, but her discipline's different. She wanted to learn my discipline. So I'm showing her the ropes and I'm, giving her all these different tricks and very informative. Like when you ask me a question, I don't know if you know this, but I give you the whole thing, okay? So I was showing her all the different quality control aspects of the medical field. Don't worry, I'll finish that story towards the end of this video. My dad's the only one in the family that likes to get the rinds. He actually would buy them from the store. And back then, you got them for like maybe $1, and he'd have a whole bag of rinds. He'd sit there and chew them while he's watching TV. I'm like, ugh. I don't get it. All right, so we got this cup here. All right, so now we want 2/3 cups of green tomatoes. We'll put 2/3 cups worth of I don't know why I keep wanting to call them fried green tomatoes. Sun-dried tomatoes. Sun-dried tomatoes. Sun-dried tomatoes. Okay, I'm gonna get this. All right. So why don't we go ahead and scoop these out. But I'm gonna leave a little bit of oil in there. The guy who did this on his recipe did it, and that's something I would do anyway. So I was like, oh man, I hope he uses some of that oil. That gives such a good flavor. And he did. I was like, yes. I was like, this is my man. All right, so that's about 2 cups worth. 2 cups. 2/3 of a cup worth. All right, put this away. And what we're gonna do with this is, quite simply, we're just gonna coarsely chop it, nice and sloppy. You don't have to do like these thin, even lines. Just put them all in there and just leave that oil in the container because we're gonna use that for the chicken. He put the chicken on first, and I think the recipe calls for that. After that, you're gonna saute the garlic. What I'm going to do after sauteing the garlic is I'm going to put the fried green tomatoes. What is wrong with me? All right, the sun-dried tomatoes. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to cut those off, right? We don't want anything crunchy, right? From the chicken, like you don't want all of that. So just go ahead, cut that in fourths, real easy. Put it back in. If you have someone in your family that just doesn't like them, that wouldn't mind picking them out, I think you would do them a service just to leave them whole. That's fine. I like to cut them up because I do like the flavor to kind of get in there. So there we have it. All right, moving on. We're gonna get some of that oil up. Put that in there, a little bit more. Or I can just put the garlic in there too. There we go. Put that nice sun-dried tomato oil. All right. Ooh, that's a good brand. Next, we're gonna go ahead and put the chicken into this flour. Nice and easy. Just one simple layer of flour there. Just gonna stack them on one on top of the other. Again, just a simple layer, nothing too crazy. I don't know if he used the whole thing. I think he did use the whole thing of flour. And I want to say he did 2 tablespoons and just kind of like took some, patted the chicken, took some, patted the chicken. But me, I like to keep one hand clean. There we go. Nice and evenly coated. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do half and half. So half the chicken I'm going to fry up in the first 2 tablespoons of olive oil and butter. The second half of the chicken, I'm going to do the other 2 tablespoons of oil and 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter. In case you're doing this recipe as I'm doing it, don't do 4 tablespoons of oil and 4 tablespoons of unsalted butter. You only need 2 each. I guess if for some reason the sauce just doesn't get thick at all, then we can probably make a roux out of this. This way here, nothing goes to waste. But it should be fine. I mean, even if, in my opinion, even if the sauce is a little loose, it's fine. So we'll put this aside. On New Jersey news, I know this is all show. I get it. Menendez has been charged. I don't know what that really means. For an illegal foreign agent, or yeah, something like that. And he's got like gold bars, whatnot. I mean, I never liked him. He's been corrupt from the get-go, so I don't know why this seems to be a shock to people. But again, this is the Great Awakening. And I know, I mean, granted, I've been shocked to find out the Bushes were no good, you know what I mean? Granted, I wasn't too happy with him at his second presidency. All right, so we'll keep this. This is the other half. We'll just set that right there. And we'll get this started. And I'm gonna get you guys over here. So this is my Mondo pan. That's what I call it because it's huge. This is the pan I use when I cook for my church. So what do you have for this? Now it calls for medium to high heat. I'm just gonna do medium because they do want you to sear it. So, oh, wow, this is high. So we'll go ahead, because he said with his burner he did straight up and down, so we'll just do straight up and down. We don't want to create any kind of smoke. We do a couple paper towels. He only did a single one. I think, well, we're just basically sauteing it. So this pan here, we had since, I think, 2002. This thing's old. This is originally my dad's. But when he moved, he's like, I don't have room for all this. Do you want it? I said, yes. So I took it. All right, where's my prongs, my tongs? Them tongs, the tongs. All right, we're gonna do 4 minutes on each side. I'll put the thin one in the middle, because it'll cook a little bit faster, and there's not a lot of meat to go through. So, all right, so this will be the first set, 4 minutes apiece. And then we'll go ahead and put the rest of the oil in and the other 2 things of butter. Once you take the chicken out, we'll saute the garlic until very translucent, like before they even start turning brown, and they will turn brown fast. Once that happens, you immediately put the fried green tomatoes. Oh my God, I'm on a fried green tomato. I don't even eat them. What is it with fried? I just figured it out. My mom always called them fried green tomatoes. That's why. Sun-dried tomatoes. We immediately put the sun-dried tomatoes in, saute them real quick, and then you slowly put in the chicken stock, and then you top it with the the heavy cream. Allow that to get a little bit thicker, then you put in the seasonings. Once it starts to get a little bit thick as you're adding the cheese in, then you put the chicken in to allow it to simmer for about maybe 10 minutes. Maybe. Just to simmer on low heat. Yeah, let me just get these things going. So the cool thing about this pan here, it is a frying pan essentially, but it has a very thick bottom so that the heat distribution goes evenly. So it's not like hot directly in the middle, hot on the sides. it's all around hot. But typically, at least in my opinion, the middle does get a little bit hotter, so we'll just do this a little bit to keep them from sticking. As we all know, stainless steel loves to grab onto what you're cooking. So we'll do that. There we go. Oh my gosh, I can smell it already. I know it's just salt, pepper, flour, a little bit of olive oil. You know what? Maybe it is the unsalted butter. There is a little bit of a different taste. It almost has like the smell of ghee. I don't know if you, for those who don't know what ghee is, in India it's very popular. They boil butter until it's almost like an oil. Like you have the cream on one top. I don't remember which is on top or bottom, but they basically use the oil part of that, and that's ghee. And it's delicious. All right, so let's take a look at the bottom. Yeah, it's got a little bit more longer to go. You kind of want to look at the chicken here. See where it's turning white? You kind of want to see it turn white about halfway. That's when you know you're halfway there and it's good to flip. There we go. Nice and golden. That's perfect. And even the flour kind of gives it a nice coat as well. Oops. We'll let this go for another 4 minutes, maybe 2 minutes for the tiny ones here, because you really don't want it to be too dry. We all know chicken breast is like an avocado. An avocado is like hours from being not ripe to overripe. Well, this, excuse me. All right, I put the fan on. I know it's torturously loud. Probably leave that on a little bit longer. See how it's very squishy here? We'll use a little bit more time. Definitely get these little guys off. Alright. A little bit more oil. There we have it. Butter. Turned it way down. It can get quite smoky. You know something? Now that I look at it, I think maybe I should have only stuck with 2 tablespoons each because this is quite oily. So what I'm going to do is pour some of this out so that the dish itself isn't too greasy. So hindsight, even if you're doubling the dish, still only use 2 and 2. This looks like a fish. It's a chicken shaped like a fish. This little trick is soak up all this extra grease. Be careful it doesn't hit your hand because it is hot. We're just going to get some of it. Alright, perfect. Go ahead and swirl them. Oops, sorry about that. Use a little spoon. I'll clean these up real quick. And then just now starting to get translucent. You don't want them on there too long. Roast garlic, very different smelling than egg. So Go ahead and put these on. Now what you do, turn that off. We're going to slowly put this in. And as we do that, you kind of want to, actually, you know what, let me use I don't have a metal spatula, do I? Just use this. Kind of get all that drizzle up. There we go. See how it kind of has that nice brown look to it? That's exactly what you want. You can see the difference in chicken stock. It has all that flavor in it. There we go. Very, very nice. You get all that drizzle off the bottom. Go ahead and put some of this in. Oh my God, it smells so good. Pour this in nice and slowly. That didn't look slow, did it? I think from this point we could probably use the wooden spoon. It's not as noisy. There we have it. So apparently the story behind Marry Me Chicken is it's a way to get whoever you're cooking for to ask your hand in marriage because it's that delicious. So let's see if I'm gonna marry this dish. So I'm married to my cooking. Ooh. Ooh, smells good. It smells so good. Sweet. So good. Alright, so now that it's getting a little bit warmer, you don't want it to boil too harshly. Go ahead and put the Parmesan in. Allow that to melt as if you're making Alfredo. If you guys look on my past video on how to make Alfredo, you put in one handful at a time, you allow it to melt, and you put in another handful, allow it to melt, and then the sauce on its own will get nice and thick. And that goes with any cheese. Parmesan. Did I finish this? Yes, I did. There goes that. That's one way to get something off the counter. Drop it. I mean, this looks like restaurant quality. Just the way it came out, like a TikToker couldn't. I know, I did half and half. Okay. Whatever. Go ahead and put all this in. And then when it starts to simmer, we'll go ahead and put the chicken back on it for about 10 minutes. And then we'll do I forget what kind of base it's called. You lay it flat in the pan, you just kind of like scoop the juice on top of it. It's like a French baste, if you will. And there you have it. I'm gonna have to edit this video big time because between my fire alarm going off, me banging the counters, me dropping things, washing my hands every 2 seconds. Yeah. But I hope in the end all of this was worth it. I really, really, really do. I've been dreaming about this, and okay, I admit it, I'm a foodie, okay? It's not quite thick yet. It's still very liquidy. So the cheese will thicken it. Go ahead and stir it up nicely. Then I'll get the pot of water going, which I should have done already, but that's fine. No biggie. Now, he said in the video that his macaroni, he used spaghetti, took away from the dish. It subtracted from it. So one big mistake that I saw him do was all he did was cook it, put it on a plate, and put the sauce over it. It's very important to add a little bit of butter, whether it be sweetened or unsweetened, salted or unsalted, okay? And then you want to add a little bit of salt, pepper, maybe a little bit of garlic. So this way here, if anything, it'll at least meet halfway when it comes to flavor. So You just keep stirring. Nice and gently, low and slow. I can see it's starting to get a little bit thicker now. And this basil does add some nice color. Like, it's so Italian. It's green, white, and red. You got the red from the tomatoes, white from the coriander, and green from the basilicol. Basil. 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 Herbs. All right. Oh, so I forgot. Getting back to me training this person who's shadowing me, she's from Iran, and you're like, okay, well, what was that point? I completely forgot to finish that story because I got into cooking again. She made me something as a thank you for teaching her. And she goes, to the best teacher in the world, which I never ever gotten that in my life. So I was like, huh? Me? Really? So she made me gourmet, oh goodness. The other one was gema. Gema is almost like it's got zucchinis, potatoes, chicken, and it's over their saffron rice. And then the other dish was the gourmet. I'm so sorry. I have to look at how it was written again, but it's in Persian. Oh wow, it's so delicious. I would love to learn how to cook like that, but you know, that's a whole nother discipline in cooking. It'll take me a while to learn, but I really did enjoy that. It was delicious. I have to keep teaching her so she'll cook some more for me. Anyways, all right, so we'll go ahead and start putting the chicken in. Now, you had the flour on the chicken, so that's gonna help thicken it a little bit more. So, see how nice that is? I was like, wow, this looks so Italian. You're probably like, let's see it. We wouldn't see it. So here we go. Go ahead and put that in. What do you want, Chiquita? We got the little babies. We'll put on the edges. We get their share. The little share in the jacuzzi. There you go. He said he made this dish 30 times. He made the Marry Me chicken, and then he created his own recipe, Marry Me steak, which has a similar thing, but he added rosemary. And he said that he might like that one more. And then he created like what he called elevated Marry Me chicken. You added a little bit of sherry to it. There you go, just a little bit here. All right, now we have it. So allow that to simmer while I get the pot of water going. All right, so my kitchen is relatively cleaned. Got this situated, so I'm gonna let you guys come. Oh, what is going on with this? Why is this so loose? Oh, that's why. Here we go. Look at that. It smells so good. I will admit, at first, after I put the basil and everything, I was like, ooh, it smells a little strong. But now that I put the chicken in and everything's starting to simmer and get along, it's starting to smell good. It's smelling like how I imagined it would. Does that make any sense? Like when somebody makes something and you're not sure, or if you're really good at reverse engineering how something would taste, like if you had that kind of palate, you're like, okay, well, I add a little bit of sun-dried tomato, olive oil, this, that, and the third. Like, okay, I can imagine, I can see how that would taste. Like when you look at a menu, okay, we add this, you kind of get an idea of what that item would taste like. Only to 90% of the time, in my case, be let down because it's not what I expected. I expected more. So I always give more than what people expect. For example, in a good way. I know it's not good to go overboard either. But for example, people underestimate the power of white pepper, right? So it enhances other flavors. So we're gonna go ahead. I'm gonna do a half a thing of a half a pound of egg noodles. It's just me, right? Meal prepping. I'm gonna feed a couple of my coworkers. Half of them are scared of carbs. They think carbs are gonna kill them. So it's more or less for me and maybe for someone else to take a bite of. So we'll go ahead and stir this up. I put about a teaspoon worth of salt in this to boil. Actually, you know what what I should have done? It's room temperature. You start timing it after it starts boiling. At least this is for the most part, it's room temperature. This gives it flavor. Put the rest water. Especially when you don't know when the next time you're going to use this. I mean, granted, if you like to make ramen noodles every once in a while, you can use this, like leftover this in lieu of water, and it does a world of difference on your ramen. Even mac and cheese, things like that, you'd be surprised what you can use chicken stock with. Leftover chicken stock for. Alright, so this is going to take a minute. It calls for 7 to 9 minutes. I'll check it at the 7-minute mark. Alright, no big deal. Wait for it to boil again, that's fine. I don't know if you guys ever saw that trick where you put this on in the inside of the pot and you just dump the pot reverse. Yeah. Oh, poop, it's garbage day. I gotta put the garbage out. Oh, what? It works out because I have all this chicken and grease and all that I threw out, so that clicks. And it's a good thing I did kind of remove some of the grease from the bottom of the pot. So I want to say a good 4 tablespoons worth of grease and chicken fat. It's not too bad. You got like that, a little bit of olive oil, right? It's not, you don't have a whole layer of grease on the top. It's actually quite nice. It's getting nice and thick. Again, this is more soupy than it is saucy, but as I've seen online on multiple different, I was so intrigued by this recipe. I watched a bunch of different people do it, and AI Kitchen had me most impressed, just based on how he was cooking, the stuff that he chose to do, the recipes that he chose to go with. He also used ChatGPT to see their take, which is really interesting. I didn't know you could do recipes through ChatGPT, but apparently you can have them generate a recipe according to what taste you're looking for. I didn't know that, so I learned something new. Check him out. He has no idea I'm divorcing him. I'm endorsing him, but I give credit where it's due. If somebody does something that I'm impressed, unless this comes out terrible, which even still, it's probably my fault, 'cause again, I doubled the recipes, twice the amount of oil. So maybe there's certain recipes you got to be careful when you double. Sometimes you don't do twice as much of one thing, or you do a little bit more than the other, right? So, for example, hot pepper flakes, that could go from 0 to 60 as far as spice goes for some people. So if you were to simply double that amount instead of maybe, a quarter or even extra, sometimes it's only there for flavor. So when you do twice that, sometimes you're introducing it a little bit more, because some seasonings, if this makes any sense, the flavor goes farther than others. So even though you're doubling the recipe, what the recipe calls, certain ingredients are stronger than others, hence why there's certain amounts of each, right? So starting time is 7 o'clock. All right, so 7:07, we'll give it a check. So what happens is, let's say allspice, right? It's a pretty strong ingredient. It calls for half a teaspoon of allspice for this pumpkin pie recipe. Well, you're going to double the recipe. All of a sudden, for some weird reason, we'll just go ahead and use the rest of this. For some weird reason, all you taste is allspice in the next one. Well, it's a very strong ingredient, so instead of doing 2, let's say it calls for half a teaspoon in that recipe. Okay, so you're going to do a full one. Now it's kind of strong, where you could have actually just gone like a quarter teaspoon additional. Does that make any sense? All right, so I doubled this recipe. So I want to see how this works when you cook big. But the ingredients that I did with this, with the exception of thyme can be a little strong. And oregano can be strong as well. I think for the most part they're benign. especially with the other ingredients, you have the sun-dried tomato to be a little bit strong, and the basil can hold its own. But I think for the most part, you know what? Let me just be quiet and take a taste. A test taste. My little brother used to do that to my mom all the time. Test. And he had a lisp when he was little. So he would always be like, test taste, until you finally give this kid a test taste. So I'm gonna go test taste this. Alright. Go ahead. Get a little bit of everything. Well, except for the sun-dried tomato. Oh, I said it. Okay. One thing I'm very happy about, I didn't go double on the hot pepper flakes. I can definitely taste them. As a matter of fact, I would probably go a little less, even with the double recipe. One of my coworkers, I have a feeling is probably not going to appreciate this. Not only that, but I did use a little bit more black pepper too, but black pepper is not hot like that. It does have a kick. But the other flavors, I can taste the sun-dried tomato, I can taste the basil, I can taste, everything gets along so well. This is definitely a well-made recipe. Being that it is unsalted, I'll probably do about a half a teaspoon worth of salt on the pasta, on the egg noodles itself. I don't like using pasta anymore. The word pasta for obvious reasons. It's a shame how these people ruin it for everyone else. Like we say pasta, pizza, and all that as a legitimate food, and these people are using it as code words for something very nefarious. And that pisses me off. Excuse my language. And yes, it's actually on the FBI profile thing, including the zigzags or whatever. Okay. Yeah. It's 7:05. Ooh, that's not salty at all. I should have put more salt in it. Alright. Yes, there's dishes in there, but it's fine. We'll go ahead and drain this. You watch my failure if you'd like. Oh, the sides are a little bit hot. Little bit. Alright, so go ahead and dump this in here. Move this out of the way. And there you have it. One more thing to wash. Even if there's a little bit more liquid in there, you can hear it snap, crackle, and popping. There we go. A little bit of butter. That's got a kick to it, so I'm not even going to add pepper. Just a little bit of salt. It's going to seem like, oh, it is flaked salt, so it's not as strong. But we'll go ahead and there's some recipes that actually call for wild mushrooms, like shiitake, or I forget the name of the other one. So what I could do, actually, for the pasta, for the egg noodles, I'm going to add a little bit of garlic. A little bit of garlic. Just enough to lightly coat it. This way here, it has its own flavor. There we go. Probably could have made a little bit more egg noodles, but that's fine. All right. Why don't we go ahead and give this a test taste, as my younger brother used to do. There we go. A few scoops of that. It's 7 o'clock at night, so I don't want to eat too much. Definitely want to try it. I'm going to try it real bad. And if I open a restaurant, actually that one's pretty big. Let's do something smaller. Here we go. Perfect. We get some fried sun-dried tomatoes. There There we go. Give me that. Looks amazing. A little bit of juice. There we have it. Simple. I mean, the color, the lighting doesn't do it justice. It doesn't. Oh, it smells so good. It smells so good. All right, so let's give this a shot. Shall we? If this is a success, I'm making this for, we do like a little Friendsgiving every year at my job. We jokingly call it Michael Appreciation Day. He's one of our administrators. So good. So funny. He's a foodie himself. You see? Okay. What would I do differently? Next time I'm going to try the single recipe, see if there is a difference. If there is, I'll touch on it then. But I do taste a lot of basil. And for people who like the taste of basil, this is definitely for you. I would probably go a little bit lighter on the basil, a little bit lighter on the red pepper flakes. Or I'm sorry, yeah, red pepper flakes. The recipe does call for chili flakes. So I'm glad I used red pepper flakes instead. It does have a little kick to it. But other than that, I rate it an A+. Not an A++, an A+. Let me try it without the sun-dried tomato. I would add some more Parmesan too. Give it a little bit more. Maybe by like a half a cup. A half a cup to a cup more Parmesan. Just to kind of give it that oomph, or even like a smoked Parmesan. If I did a smoked Parmesan for this, this would be off the charts. So the next time I make this, I'm going to try it with smoked Parmesan and a little bit more of it. Or I could do the half a cup of Parmesan, and then I would probably do another half a cup of smoked. The smoked can be pretty strong. Do you want to know the story behind this? I don't know if I ever told you. I went to the dollar store because I had to get something before or after I went to the gym. So they said, oh, you gotta buy $15 worth of stuff in order to use a card. Okay. So I got things that I needed. Like I needed a toilet paper dispenser. I need things for the house. All right, no problem. This is easy. I come across these. Now I already had my $15 worth of items. What's one more dollar? What I forgot was, in the state of New Jersey, they banned plastic bags. So when you go shopping of any kind, anywhere, they don't have shopping bags anymore, right? No thank you bags. So I had to carry my toilet paper dispenser, my something I needed to get for work, like paper or whatever. So here I am, I'm like, oh crap, where am I gonna put this? So I put it on my head. Here I am, walking with all my stuff. And I brought more smiles on people's faces. There was one older guy in particular. He just had the biggest smile when he looked at me. I'm like, all right, worth it. So people like stuff like this. Even if you think you look silly, someone on the outside says, you know, that's a silly way to display it, but she's a patriot and I like it. So I'm proud of getting this. And to this day, it's going to sit right here. Proudly. Along with my... What's that? What is that? Oh. You know, I'm freaking myself out between the... It was my dishwasher. That is what it sounds like when it's done. I forgot my dishwasher makes noise. Usually I have the TV going and it's just background noise, and I usually have the laundry going at the same time. Since living here, 3 months now, that's the first time I heard this thing beep at random. It's got 10 minutes to go. I hear people. And I can have a better idea of how this is going to be tomorrow when all the flavors come together. Talking with my mouth full, I'm sorry. And I'm wondering, because I don't really taste salt, I'm wondering if salted butter does make a difference. When I do a smaller recipe too, I'm going to use the, she wants some. All right. Get the sauce off. I don't want her to eat milk. Got a little bit. A little bit. There you go, Trixie. Come on, grab it. There you go. All right. And she wants to be part of the flock. They can have macaroni. Unseasoned. That's why I suck the seasoning off of it. Be like, oh, there's still seasoning. Very little. She only got a tiny bit. I'm impressed. And I have all my Tupperware from work in that dishwasher that I finally brought home today. Yeah, I cleaned most of them. But sometimes when it's really busy and I'm in cases all day, some people are very nice. And before I can even get to it, they're already cleaned. I'm like, who did this for me? I was like, that's so nice, thank you. So I'm gonna feed some people tomorrow, which I enjoy doing a lot. So I'm gonna go now and eat this. And I might actually, if I'm being honest, eat another piece of chicken because this is so good. What a well thought out recipe.